Welcome back to The Explainer, where we get into some really cool ideas. Today, we're going to play with physics a little bit. We're diving into two absolutely mind-bending cosmic what-ifs that would change, well, everything.
All right, let's just jump right in with our first big question. What if the moon wasn't alone? Seriously, imagine looking up at night and seeing our moon, but it has its own little moon orbiting it. A moon, if you will. Is that even possible? How would that work?
So, to figure out how a moon could get its own moon, it probably helps to remember how we got ours in the first place. It's a pretty wild story.
You know, the leading theory is something straight out of sci-fi. It's called the Great Impact Hypothesis. We're talking about 4.5 billion years ago, when a Mars-sized planet, which scientists call Theia, just smashed right into a baby Earth. The collision threw a massive ring of debris into orbit, and over millions of years, gravity did its thing and pulled all that rubble together to form the moon. Crazy, right?
Now, a moon wouldn't need all that drama. No giant collision necessary. There's a much simpler way: gravitational capture. It's basically when an object, like an asteroid, just wanders a little too close to the moon and gets snagged by its gravity, pulled right into orbit. It's happened before in our solar system. That's how Neptune got its moon Triton.
But here's the thing, it's not that simple. There's a major catch. The whole Earth-Moon dance is a really delicate gravitational ballet. So for a moon to join in without messing everything up, it would have to be, well, a Goldilocks moon. You know, just right. Not too big, not too small. Scientists have crunched the numbers, and they think it couldn't be any bigger than about 1 kilometer in diameter.
Okay, so even if we got our perfect little moon, you shouldn't get too attached. It wouldn't be sticking around for long. Think about it. It's stuck in this constant gravitational tug-of-war between the Earth and the moon. That would make its orbit super unstable. Best case scenario, it lasts for a few years, maybe a couple of decades before one of two things happens. It either gets yeeted out into deep space, or it crashes into the moon, or maybe, just maybe, into us.
So let's say we have this moon for a little while. What's the impact down here on Earth, physically? Not much, really. It's too small to mess with our tides or the climate. The real impact would be on us, on our culture. Can you imagine the news stories we'd tell, the art it would inspire? And the scientists, they would go absolutely nuts. It would be this amazing temporary jewel in our night sky.
But what if that cosmic journey ended right here, on Earth? Well, that beautiful spectacle turns into a nightmare. An object that size hitting us would release the energy of thousands of megaton bombs. Absolutely devastating. And that terrifying thought, well, it's a perfect lead-in to our next, even crazier hypothetical.
Okay, buckle up, because we're about to dial this up to 11. Forget a tiny moon. What if we did a complete size swap? Imagine you wake up tomorrow and the Earth has shrunk to the size of the moon, while the moon has ballooned up to the size of the Earth.
I mean, the scale of this is just hard to wrap your head around. Let's call them Little Earth and Big Moon to keep things straight. Suddenly, our planet would have just a tiny fraction of its mass, while this new big moon would just be looming over us, a giant in the sky.
So, what's the very first thing you'd feel? So, what's the very first thing you'd feel? Gravity. Or the lack of it. It would just plummet. On Little Earth, you'd only be experiencing about 27% of the gravity you're used to right now. You'd feel
floaty. Incredibly, incredibly light. To put that in perspective, if you weigh 70 kilos, that's about 154 pounds, you'd suddenly weigh just 19 kilos, or around 42 pounds. Walking would be more like bouncing. It'd be fun for about 5 minutes, but yeah, this newfound lightness, it has a very, very dark side. The fun would not last.
Because that initial thrill of feeling like a superhero would turn to absolute horror. The same laws of physics that made you feel weightless would immediately start conspiring to tear our world apart.
See, our bodies are just not designed for this. We evolved for 1G, period. In a low-gravity world, your spine would actually start to stretch out, painfully. Your muscles would atrophy, and all the fluids in your body would shift upwards into your head, causing something astronauts actually worry about called puffy-faced bird leg syndrome. And trust me, it's every bit as awful as it sounds.
At the same time, up in the sky, that new big moon would be unleashing gravitational hell on us. Its pull would be immense. Our tides, the ones that gently go in and out, they become planet-sweeping tsunamis. Coastal cities, New York, Tokyo, London, gone. Wiped off the map in a flash.
And you think that's bad? It gets worse. That same gravitational force would literally start to deform little Earth's crust, squeezing our planet like a stress ball. This would trigger earthquakes everywhere, all at once, and volcanoes would erupt on a scale we can't even comprehend.
But here it is, the final nail in the coffin. Little Earth, with its weak, pathetic gravity, just couldn't hold on to our atmosphere. Our precious bubble of air, the very stuff we need to breathe, would just start drifting away into the void.
Assuming anything survived, over millions of years, little Earth wouldn't even be a planet anymore. It would become a moon, tidally locked to the new planet, Big Moon. You know how we only ever see one side of our moon? It would be like that. One side of our world would be permanently baked in sunlight, and the other would be frozen in an endless night. A day would last for a month.
So our home is toast. It's a volcanic, tsunami-ravaged, airless rock. What's left for humanity? Well, our only hope, our only chance for survival would be to escape. And the only place to go is the very thing that destroyed us, the Big Moon.
But here's a weird little silver lining in all this chaos. Escaping little Earth would be way easier thanks to the low gravity. So humanity's last-ditch effort, our final desperate gamble, would be a plan to terraform the Big Moon. We're talking about a massive engineering project, detonating nukes to release gases for an atmosphere, melting the ice caps to create oceans, and then somehow seeding it with plants to start making oxygen. It's a Hail Mary for a new home.
Thinking through scenarios like these really hammers home just how fragile our existence is, how perfectly balanced everything has to be. But it also shows something else. It reveals our incredible, almost stubborn drive to survive. So it really leaves you with a question, doesn't it? If our world was turned upside down, what would we do? Would we find a way to escape or a way to adapt? What are we really capable of when our backs are against the wall? Something to think about. Thanks for